So here we're going to kind of quickly look at the connected functionality that we introduced over several releases. The connected and the source connection, which is fairly new as well. We're putting this in the timeline improvements because it does sort of feature in the timeline, although we start the process off in the Conform module. So we're going to be loading up a couple of EDLs. One of the new things that came in was the multi-assemble, automatic detection. So essentially looking at the names of EDLs and automatically grouping them based on that naming convention instead of doing a layer per EDL. So we've got a 45 and a 60 we're going to bring in at the same time. What happens here is that it conforms these empty constructs directly into that new entity on the desktop we call the sequence rail. This is the mechanism that makes the connected, conform, and source connections work. So we could go back and we could look for the media for both of these, but we've got this button here that allows us to do a couple of things. What we're going to do here is we're actually going to create a sources sequence. The sources sequence will look at everything that's open in that sequence rail, and it will basically make a longest pull list of all the media it needs to bring in to conform those other sequences. Working the sources sequence, what we'll do is going to set a location for it to look for all those sources, so it's going to be kind of down in here. And then as you would do with a normal conform, you're going to find the criteria to match all of the media into those segments. So in our drop down here, we're going to do something like click name source timecode. We get a whole bunch of matches. We're going to link those sources in. We're left with these. We're going to turn these two off for a second. We're going to get a match for those as well. We're going to link them in. So what we've done is we've conformed all of our media into our sources sequence. Now by doing that, we've automatically then populated all the other open conforms in that sequence rail. So they're all coming from that same sources that we're pulling in into the sources sequence. And you can actually just leave it there. However, we do have then another option to create a new construct based upon these two open sequences and create a connection between those segments. So once we've done the actual conform, got the media in, if we then create a shot sequence, and once again we can filter out particular layers. In this particular case I'm going to be lazy and just delete the audio quickly. What we've done now is we've created a new sort of hybrid timeline. It doesn't really make much sense in any kind of editorial format, but it's basically an amalgamation of the 60 and the 45 second timelines together. If we kind of zoom into this, you're going to see that there's these little chain links between the segments, which means that this shot sequence is linked to all the references of those segments in the other timelines. So at this point we can actually come back to our timeline view because all of these are existing in our sequence reel and look at some of the functionality that we get inside of here as well and what the actual connection means. So first off, when we have a connection, we have some new menu items in the contextual menu, and it will show me where this particular segment lives in other timelines, and clicking on that will take me to the 45 second, and then once again if we do this again, it will take me to the exact place where that lives in the 60 second. So the whole idea about this is that we work on one sequence, in this particular case that hybrid timeline, the shot sequence, and then we can propagate that work automatically to all the other connected segments in our sequence reel. So if we kind of have a look at this, we're going to do something really easy. We're going to kind of come in and add an action. Go into the action editor for a second, and we're just going to draw a quick garbage mask around our big cat thing here. I'm going to come back out to this, and you can see that in my shot sequence I now have this very sort of like rough composite. Now what I like to do is I like to propagate that out to my 60 and my 45 second versions. If we kind of have a quick look at the 45 second version at the moment, you can see that at the moment we do not have that mask present. So the idea is that we can then take whatever timeline effect that we've applied and we can sync it to the connected segments. And once we've done that, if we then go and have a look at the 45 and the 60 second version, there's different timings on this, but basically our effects, our timeline effects, have then been propagated through to those other segment connections in those other sequences in the timeline. So the idea is that we do all our work once on a shot sequence, and then we can very efficiently push all of those effects to the other connected segments in the sequence reel.